Networking and marketing made simple is for you, the business owner that has a product, service, or message that you truly believe in. My name is Scott Aaron, and each week we'll take a behind-the-scenes look at real-world networking and marketing tactics while leveraging LinkedIn to get what you have in front of many more people. Thanks for spending time with me, and let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to Networking and Marketing Made Simple. Super excited for today's interview episode because I love learning new things. I love learning all the different entrepreneurs out there and the things that they've created to help more people. And obviously, today is no different. Tom Paladino is with me today, and he has a company and obviously something that he highly believes in, and it's called Scalar Light, which a lot of people may not be familiar with, but that's why you're listening to today's episode. So you can find out all about it, how it can benefit you from a personal and professional standpoint. So without any more time wasted, Tom, welcome to today's episode.
And my pleasure. Thank you, Scott. Thanks.
So let's rewind the tape before we talk about obviously where you are right now and what you're doing moving into the future. And I like kind of going backwards because I always like to build out, I would say, the foundations for what actually happened to that person, that light bulb moment that kind of, really pushed them to what they're doing today. So if you can rewind the tape on your business journey and press stop at a particular point where you feel like this moment was your catalytic moment, your jumping off point, your light bulb moment that kind of set you on this path that you're now on with Scalar Light and everything that you're doing into the future. What did that moment look like for you?
Yeah, it's when I started to experiment with scalar light and I saw the gigantic potential. So moving from theory to practice. And once I had hands-on experience, then all of my notions, all of my theories, all of my groundwork was then finally bearing good fruit. It's great to theorize, it's great to plan, but then you have to put it into action. There has to be some type of practice after all the theorizing. Only once I realized that I had a valid science, that I had valid instrumentation on my hand, then I knew I could have great advances.
So it brings up, I would say, the biggest question of them all. How would you best describe, not your business, but what Scalar Light is? Because I can promise you there's a lot of entrepreneurs listen to this podcast, so they're very much into spirituality, they're into personal development, so they really are working on themselves, and obviously they may have not heard of Scalar Light. So why don't you just take a few moments and explain in deep context to the audience what Scalar Light actually is?
Scalar light technology is the next great technology that will change the world. It's free energy. A scalar light instrument can illuminate light bulbs. This is free energy. I am working with the energy of the stars. And with that, we're about to hit a new threshold, a threshold of a different type of energy that's unlimited in supply. Scalar energy, the light of the energy in the stars. That's what your audience base should be paying attention to. The next great technology of the world.
So how did you really come to, I mean, there's a lot of technologies out there. What really drew you to Scalar Light? What was kind of like the big connection point? You talk about going, not just theorizing, but putting things into action. What really drew you to this type of technology?
Nikola Tesla. I studied Tesla at a young age, and I saw that what Tesla was doing was unheralded. It was new, it was different. He was at the vanguard of his movement. Later in his life, Tesla captured the energy of the stars. I want to be very clear to your audience. This new technology is not going to use coal or wind or nuclear. We're going to capture the infinite energy of the stars, and that will be the new power plant, the stars. Tesla did it, and I'm doing it to some minor extent right now.
So obviously it is revolutionary. It is, because again, we talk about all the advancements in energy. Um, you see people now getting into the red light therapy. You see people, obviously creating their own power versions, whether that's, water power, whether that's wind power, whether it's solar. Like there's so many advancements now when it comes to technology and energy and all of those things. Where do you see Scalar Light fitting in with all the advancements and not just technology, but energy sources? And I would say the more important question, how does it benefit the human species? How does it
Okay.
benefit us? And why do we need to know about it?
Yeah, why do we need to know about it? Well, presently I'm not working on illuminating a building. That I'm working on that technology. Presently, I can take a photograph of a person and illuminate their energy field. That's right. Scalar energy can access a person's force field through their photograph. And I can detect a disease signature on the photograph and negate a disease signature. So we're working with informational science in which we can look for disease by a signature and negate it by likewise a scalar energy signature. This is the new quantum healthcare in which we don't work with people. We don't work on a biological level. We work on an informational level.
So if someone was to talk about the difference between an information level versus a biological level,
Right.
obviously, the biology, how we're made up, versus what you just described, um, benefits or advantages of one over the other, and how is it really going to help people, not just early detection of maybe some disease that's inside of
Right.
them, but where do you see it moving in the future?
I see it moving presently that I can detect a disease pattern such as herpes virus or a cancer signature on a photograph and negate the herpes virus or negate the signature of cancer. I'm having great response. I'm having great testimonies from people. Now, to be clear, I'm the only one with this type of instrument, so nobody can prove or disprove my work. But my testimonies are quite promising. People tell me they no longer have the herpes virus after I work with them. People tell me after I work through their photographic force field, they're in cancer remission. So that's how cutting edge this science is. We're
Mhm.
just at the vanguard of this movement.
So something that you speak about is the prospect of the scalar light technology and how you really feel and you really um, are educating people on how it can change and uplift social order,
Yes,
society, just people
yes,
in general. So let's talk about that for a little bit. And
yes.
why is it important for people to know all of that?
Okay, why is this important? Because energy is fundamental. I'm working with the fundament of the universe. And all nature then is dictated by energy, by light. So if this instrument can control the outcome, and it can, why not work at the informational level? Why worry about the effect? Why not work at the level of cause? So this is a new information system where we can mandate, we can dictate the outcome. Why can I make such a statement? Because I'm in control with energy, light. Energy dictates nature. With this instrument, I can dictate the outcome of nature.
It's interesting because I think there's a lot of people that, are affected in a negative way about, with healthcare and everything that's kind of broken in certain societies. And I think everybody is looking for, not the next best thing, but a universal way of how people can continue to be healthy, could,
Right.
if there's a way to predict or detect or get rid of certain ailments inside of us, obviously we want all that. And, again, not going down any sort of conspiracy rabbit hole
Mhm.
with something like this that is so revolutionary and it's
Correct.
so important, it's so impactful.
Yes.
Why do you feel, even not just, using scalar light as an example, there's a lot of things out there that are just very revolutionary. They're like, Elon Musk and everything he was doing with the electric cars, and people still question, because I think you know the story, Elon Musk basically gave the technology, hand delivered it to every single car manufacturer in the world and said, here's how I did it. You can do it too. Let's make a cleaner world. But you can see that it's still snail speed as far as people moving from gas to electric. And yes, there's hybrid options. But so where do you kind of see Scalar Light in that scope of the majority of the people, I'm sure you would admit, don't know what it is.
Correct.
What's it going to take to bring Scalar Light to the forefront of global society so they need to know about it so more can be done with it and obviously so it's able to improve people's lives?
Very good question. Over 100 years ago, Nikola Tesla demonstrated free energy instruments. He called it radiant energy. I call it scalar energy. It's free energy. Why did Tesla fail? He failed because he did not have the internet. Why are you and I going to succeed, Scott? We have the internet. We have a dissemination of this information. 100 years ago, Tesla was ostracized. Today, uh, I'm embraced. My work is embraced. So thank God for social media. Thank God for the internet. Today, we will succeed. It's just a matter of time. It's education.
So where do you see, obviously with where Scalar Light is right now, and again, if we had crystal balls that actually work the way that they, a lot of fortune tellers say they do, we'd be able to look into it and say, okay, this is where I'm going to be. As best that you can be predictive as far as the
Yes.
next 12, 24, 36 months of the Scalar Light technology,
Right.
where do you see things moving, with what you're doing in the next 1 to 3 years?
Next 1 to 3 years, I think I'm able to prove that I can find a cancer signal on a photograph and negate that cancer signal in the informational field. And then in the next 2 to 3 years, people will prove that by way of their diagnostic reports, by way of their testimonies. So what I've proven in my laboratory that I can negate cancer as a signature, people will now testify by way of testimonies. That's my prediction for the next 2 to 3 years. In 5 years, I want to be able to take a scalar energy instrument and not only light up a light bulb, but light up a city.
Mm.
That's where I'm going with this in the next 5 years. It will
Wow.
change the world. This technology will change the world. If this is the first time you've heard of scalar energy, it will not be the last time.
So when someone wants to work with you and they're like, all right, Tom, I, I believe in everything that you're doing. Can you describe or walk the audience through what it looks like to work with you from the time the person says, okay, listen, I believe in what you're doing. I want to make sure that I'm okay. Walk the person through as if they were a patient client of yours from where they are now to obviously the outcome of where you want to take them.
Okay, sure. Well, in order to prove this, I give away 15 days of sessions on my website. So how do I prove it? People email me their photograph and including their pets. And that way people can judge this informational science if they feel better or if their pets feel better. I'm all about proof. I'm all about performance. That's step one. That's what I have to prove in the next 1 to 2 years, that people feel better, that there is some type of improvement in their spiritual, mental, physical health. I do that on my website. I give away 15 days of session. That's step one.
Now, as far as the 15 days of sessions, after what could someone expect? Because again, we're not talking about, again, things can happen and change very rapidly, but
Yes.
from all the people that you've worked with and all the people that you've helped, what are some of the big takeaways or the big needle moving changes that you've seen in those individuals?
Yeah, I frequently see within the first month people no longer have an arthritic condition. Their hands are not inflamed. They can have greater dexterity. People tell me that their sinus is clear. Some people say that they have a greater attention span. Others will say that their dream state is enhanced. I believe this will, if you will, balance our brain waves and our chakras, this type of energy. So those are just some of the, if you will, testimonies that we see within the first 15 to 30 days.
Now, do you see this as something that's going to be, readily available to people for their home? Like, because again, like I think you remember that whole water filtration movement where people would buy those huge water filtration systems and, attach it to their tap water, and it was ionized and it had a certain pH. And I mean, I believe that, there's a pH balance inside of us, and, drinking the right kind of water will benefit us. But as far as, I don't want to use the term commercial use, but for independent use, do you see the scalar light technology going to that kind of global scale where people will be able to have, this technology in their homes, in their, maybe in their offices, and
Yes.
more available to larger quantities of people?
Yes, eventually we have to. It cannot be controlled just by myself and a few other researchers. That's the point of my work. I want to present this in a responsible fashion, and then the world must yearn for this. The world must see the benefit. And therefrom, we need to establish some type of platform, some type of working model where we can place this type of technology in each home and each factory, etc.
So what do you think is going to be the tipping point for that to happen? So what do you feel? Because obviously there's a sequence of events that need to take
Yeah.
place. Obviously we can predict the future as much as we want, but what do you feel with where the scalar light technology is right now with what you're doing, and obviously the movement that is happening? What do you feel needs to have to happen in order to really take this to more of a global scale? Because again, I'm a big believer, not just in, entrepreneurs like yourself, but things that are going to help the human race. Like, I'm a big believer in that
No, thank
because,
you.
I really want people to live their best life, to, feel good all the time. But a lot of people don't think that way. It's just maybe the societal environment they grew up in, the home environment they grew up in. So how do you see this progressing to that point where scalar light technology does become readily available to so many people?
We need a grassroots movement. We need a number of people to follow this, whether it's 200,000, 300,000, I don't know. But we need to get the ball moving with people. All, if you will, movements start with people, not with government, not with big business, at the grassroots level with people. So that's the purpose of this podcast, to reach the people and to get people interested in this. It will come. That day's coming.
So as we, progress, if you could, I would say, compare as much as you can. I really feel kind of scalar light technologies in a category of its own. With other therapies and other sort of technologies out there, is there a best comparison that you can make about how scalar light technology works compared to maybe some other things out there that people are doing? But more importantly, how can you, besides everything that you described, what's the best way to differentiate the benefits, the uh, the cause and effect,
That's good.
and, the, I would say, the bonuses for someone adopting the scalar light technology compared to other stuff that's out there?
Yeah, let's differentiate. I think it's a lot easier. Let's contrast. When I work with a photograph, it's the information field. It's non-physical. When I work with a human body, it's physical, chemical. I never work with people. These instruments are not designed to work with people, which would be a biochemical reaction. I work with photographs that's non-physical, informational in character. Now, the fact that I only work with information, you can never have a biological, there is no biological side effect. There is no downside. There is no negative side effect. Can you ever have a negative side effect with your photograph? No. Can your photograph experience a headache? No. Can your photograph have an adverse reaction to a vaccine? No. That's what I like about my work. God bless the medical community. I'm not part of the medical community. I don't work with flesh and blood. I work at a higher plane of information where you never have a problem.
And that's such like a interesting concept for people to latch on to, because they're like, all right, well, Tom, I email you a picture of myself, and obviously you do your work. Does someone feel a difference, like from a physical level?
Many times, yes, both physical, spiritual, mental, cognitive, yes. And that's dependent upon each individual. To be clear, this is such a new science, there's no really common denominator that we can look at. I'm the only one in the world with this instrument, so I have to judge by the 3,000 to 4,000 testimonies I've received. In other words, there is no peer-reviewed study. I have no peers.
That's, and again, we always talk about becoming the expert in one space, but also positioning yourself as a category of one. And I think you're a prime example of someone that's in a category of their own. So, Tom, before we wind down today's episode, if someone is interested in learning more about Scalar Light, but also obviously you've been so generous with my network, giving people 15 days of free Scalar Light sessions. What's the best way for people to find out more about you, about the Scalar Light technology, and how to take advantage of your generous offer?
Okay, the website is scalarlight.com. That's the focal point for my work. I've written monographs. There's so many testimonies on the website. You'll exhaust yourself looking at all the information. You won't be able to read it all in a month, I can guarantee you. That's my focal point. If you want to go back 100 years ago, read about Nikola Tesla and read about his work in Colorado Springs. He wrote some notes on his scalar energy experiments in 1899, but that's a separate matter.
Amazing. So, final question. There is no wrong answer. And I love kind of putting a bow on the episodes with this question. So, Tom, what does success truly mean to you?
To me, realizing my dreams. And it really isn't about money or success or power or a lot of the confused concepts that we have. To follow my purpose and to realize that purpose. I want to be a scalar light researcher. I have succeeded. That's my goal. Whatever results therefrom, well, that's ancillary. But to follow my dream, to follow a researcher.
I love that. And I think, Les Brown always talks about in the graveyards around the world are some of the greatest inventions that were never invented, some of the greatest athletes that never made the professional ranks, some of the greatest songs that could have been written, but they kept it inside. And I think you are a prime example of someone that's, living on purpose, living for a purpose, and obviously serving those around them at the very same time. So, Tom, I just wanted to, number one, thank you for, leaning into your genius and obviously, developing everything that you've developed and listening to your gut and, blocking out the noise that's out there. And obviously, number two, just grateful that I was able to have you on the podcast because I want to get this message out and in front of as many people as possible. And just appreciate you and what you're doing to serve the human race and everything that you're doing. So thank you again for being here today.
The feeling's mutual. Thank you for your support. Thank you, Scott.
Absolutely. So all the information about Tom and Scalar Light obviously will be in the description of the episode, and that's SCALAR light.com. That'll be in the show notes, in the description of this episode, and also the email broadcast that goes out for you guys to listen. Obviously, Tom is giving 15 days of free Scalar Light sessions. So again, find out more about that at the website. Do connect with Tom if this is something that has really piqued your interest. Don't hold it inside. Lean into it. It can only help. It can't hurt. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Love and gratitude, and I'll talk to you next time. Thank you so much for checking out today's episode. If you could, please support this podcast by hopping over to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or any place that you're listening to this. Leave us a rating and review. Let us know what you loved most and what you would like to hear more of. But also, if you would like to learn how to take your business to the next level, whether it's using LinkedIn or working directly with myself and Nancy in our intimate group coaching programs, you can head over to www.thetimetogrowth.com or scottaaron.net to learn more. Thank you again for your support, love and gratitude, and I'll talk to you soon.